God bless everyone. This is a video that I'm making because Amy S. was asking about the law of the leper in Leviticus, which starts at the 13th chapter, but basically the types are detailed in the 14th chapter. So if you read at the start of the 14th chapter, in verse 4, the priest is commanded to take 2 birds, both alive and clean, cedar wood, scarlet, and hyssop, and the priest shall command that one of the birds to be killed in an earthen vessel over running water. The living bird, he shall take it, and the cedar wood, and the scarlet, and the hyssop, and shall dip them, and the living bird, in the blood of the bird that was killed over the running water. And he shall sprinkle upon him that is to be cleansed from the leprosy 7 times, and shall pronounce him clean, and shall let the living bird loose into the open field. So these verses 4 to 7 are basically the meat and potatoes of this type. And if I go into the Gospel now, into Matthew 27, we will get the answer as to what this means, because this is the antitype to the type. And it's basically known as the prisoner release, and is pertaining to the same type as the scapegoats. You'll have read about the 2 scapegoats, one's killed and one's set free into the wilderness. So if we go to the Gospel, Christ is arrested and he's in the custody of Pontius Pilate, and in verse 15 it says, "Now at that feast the governor was going to release to the people a prisoner, which was the custom. They had a notable prisoner called Barabbas." So if you translate Barabbas, it means son of the father. Son of the father. That's really important to know this. There is also a story that Origen bought a Hebrew Bible when he was in Judea, and in that Hebrew text he was called Jesus Barabbas, which would mean Jesus, son of the Father, but that's for another day. But basically in the Gospel he's known as Barabbas. So he's the prisoner. He's the one who is the type of the living bird that's set free at the expense of the death of the bird that's to be killed, which is Christ. So therefore, when they were gathered together, Pilate said to them, "Who do you want us to release?" And as you know, everybody said Barabbas. So Barabbas was the archetype sinner, wasn't he? He was a murderer, and he was put in prison for sedition. Well, this is basically the explanation of the law of leprosy, okay? Because as we know, the hyssop was part of what was used during the crucifixion, if we go to that. But yeah, first though, here's the scarlet. We had the scarlet, didn't we, as well, that was in the law of the leper, the 2 birds. They put on him a scarlet robe, so he's accomplished that part. Here's another interesting, important part. If you don't know what this means, Golgotha, a place of a skull. I did a video on Melchizedek and pointed out that it was Adam's skull. It was common knowledge amongst the Jews that Adam was buried on Golgotha. So I found the hyssop in John 19:29. They were set a vessel full of vinegar, and they filled a sponge with vinegar and put it upon hyssop and put it to his mouth. So that just leaves us with the cedar, and I am presuming that stands for the cross. Maybe the cross was made of cedar wood. But generally, any indication of wood or trees is an indication of the cross. So we're back in Leviticus 14. The running water stands for baptism. So they sometimes call living water anything that's running from a river. It was preferable to baptize in rivers because it was running. So when the bird's killed, the living bird is dipped in the blood of the dead bird. So that's the blood of Christ, which purges the conscience from dead works, as we read recently in Hebrews 9:12. That's the duty of the high priest to go and atone for the sins of the people with blood. There's no atonement for sin without blood, so the high priest, Christ, using his own blood, him being the sacrifice that's used to purge our sins and cleanse us from the leprosy. So you see, the leprosy is used, a physical disease is used as an allusion to a spiritually, the spiritually dead condition of sin. And this is how we are made clean and washed with the blood of Christ and with the running water of baptism.